Hi brothers, welcome back. It's Thursday night at the Minneapolis Valley Scottish Rite. We are joined tonight. By the way, it is so nice to be doing again. We're resuming our 5 questions with a white hat. Illustrious brother, Monte Miller, welcome.
Thank you.
Been looking forward to having you in front of our camera for quite some time. It's tough to know where to start. What originally led you to the altar of Freemasonry?
Well, I think like a lot of people, it was a sense of history and tradition. I am at least a 5th degree or 5th generation Mason. All of my male forebears were Masons. And my dad died when I was 12. So, you know, back in those days, Masons didn't talk much about the lodge. I would ask my dad, my grandfather, and my granduncle where they were going when they were all dressed up, and they said, we're going to lodge. I asked them what it was about, and they told me that when it was time I'd find out. Well, years went by, and finally, kind of out of a sense of wanting to know what it was that was so important to them, I petitioned to become a Freemason.
Is it possible to even identify a memorable moment that would stand out from all the others? That's a lot of years, that's a lot of degrees and events, and there's so many. What comes to mind on that? Maybe just maybe how about a top 2? You
know, the first one that came to mind, that just flashed into my head just as you were asking that, was my entered apprentice degree when I was first brought to light. It was an absolutely incredibly startling moment, eye-opening moment, and taught me really that I was about to undertake something that was very, very serious and was very important to me. After that, I suppose when I was honored with the 33rd degree and went through that ceremony.
With the live theater component of the ritual and all of the degrees that we perform, it is just that sometimes. Live theater, mistakes happen, maybe a gaffe here or there. I feel like I'm vaguely familiar with an interesting situation you encountered in a particular ritual of the Scottish Rite. Would you please tell our viewers what happened that night, what degree it was?
It was the 17th degree. It was back in the early 80s. I believe it was 1981. I thought I'd lived this down by now. I was a brand new Mason, and my lodge, Paul Revere Lodge, had adopted the 17th degree. They told me that now that I was a Royal Arch Mason, I should volunteer for a part. So they gave me a part, and like many new Masons, it was a fairly small part. I think it was only 1 or 2 lines. But like all young Masons, I spent a lot of time learning those lines. Backward and forward, I'm sure I probably even repeated them in my sleep. Came down here the night of the degree and went up to costuming, got into the costume for the degree. Came down on the floor, was ready to go. I mean, I had those couple of lines down pat. As the light went on, there was a bat that was behind me, and the bat flew from the back of the stage right past, I mean within a 1/4 inch of my right ear, and went flying out over the auditorium. My lines went out of my mind immediately, and what I said out loud was, I'll censor here, what the F was that?
While you were on a microphone?
Oh yeah, of course. Boy. Said it very loudly, startled. I looked up, and there were some guys in the audience that had seen the bat. They, of course, were smiling. There were other guys who had been looking away, whose jaw was dropped. People were wondering, what was that about? I was absolutely humiliated. I stepped back, I mumbled my line or two, and did the best I could to get out of here as fast as I could. It took me several years to live it down at my own lodge with people reminding me of my famous first line ever in a Scottish Rite degree.
And just when you thought you lived it down, maybe that had disappeared into the archives. I'm quite excited to bring that one back.
Yeah, I'm hoping that among the brothers who watch this tape, that most of them either won't remember it or are gone now. So it's, you know, I'm hoping I won't start getting phone calls, but I'm sure there's at least one or two guys out there that probably remember that wonderful incident.
Who comes to mind as maybe a most interesting or a unique person you've met through the Masonic family? I feel like so many brothers have that person they never would have met outside of the fraternity.
Well, you know, I got a couple, but one is now gone, unfortunately. Brother Jazz. Brother Jazz, the first time I met him, he walked into Scottish Rite. He was wearing like nylon pants, like gym pants. He was wearing knee-length boots. He was wearing a purple frock coat, a purple boa, and he had on a top hat that was a bell top, you know, Mad Hatter type hat in matching purple. Brother Jazz was a drummer for a fairly famous band. That's Brother Jazz phoning in now. Brother Jazz was a drummer, and I remember he was one of the most interesting people. He was a very, very well-read, very knowledgeable brother, but an interesting character. I will diverge for a second, tell you a story. I came down here into the library where we're filming this, and Brother Jazz was there dressed in his rock musician outfit, and standing across the table was Brother Don Severson, looking like he just stepped off the cover of Gentleman's Quarterly. The two of them had a copy of Morals and Dogma here on the table and a piece of sheet music. Both of them had drumsticks, and they were discussing rather seriously how the particular passage should be played on the drums. You'd never see that anyplace else except in Masonry.
And that is what we all love about the craft. It brings together people of different backgrounds, lifestyle, professional. That's a great story. Never heard that one before. Final question for you, illustrious brother. Any mentor, role model, someone within the craft you've looked up to over the years? Because we all look up to you. You've taken on that mantle now. You're our guy.
Yeah,
but
now I'm the old guy, right? You know, I was thinking about this the other day, and you know, I've been a Mason for nearly 42 years. So I met some of the giants, you know, Jerry Oliver, Ken Hill, Huey Swift, you know, guys that, you know, will be remembered by Masons here in Minnesota for generations. And I've learned something from all of them. I've had the great good fortune to serve under more than 10 Grand Masters as a committee chair, and learned something special from each of those. But the one thing that I think, you know, I'd like to relate is when my son finished his term as master of our lodge, I sat down with him and said, what is it about Masonry that you enjoyed? And he said, Dad, to tell you the truth, the most important thing is there's no generation gap in Masonry. That all Masons treat each other equally, that you can go to dinner with people who are at their end of their career and people who are at the very beginning of theirs, and have a discussion where no one talks down to anyone else. So, you know, a lot of the people who I consider my mentors are guys like Ray Hayward and Todd Jovanovich, guys like my friend Don Nolly, who, you know, I look up to and admire and try and emulate. And I think really the big secret of Masonry is we really learn from each other how to become better people.
Illustrious brother, that's the perfect note to end our 5 questions with a white hat. You are a favorite around here and in the entire Masonic family. We look up to you. We have laughs. We get serious sometimes. It's you're part of what makes this a joyous journey. Illustrious brother, Monte Miller, thank you so much for being with us. 5 questions with a white hat. We'll see you down here soon, brothers.
Great. Thank you.